that have this everything on the wall. These people have certificates on the wall.
Right, right,
That's why they make $101,000, $95,000.
right.
But if we had a good, strong city
Go on,
secretary,
city.
do we need anybody else? Do we need 2 more people?
Well, you still need a clerk.
So you know what?
So we could do it with 2, not 3. If we had a strong city secretary and a
What
clerk,
do you mean 2 or 3 people? I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm curious about this.
you had Monica, you have Brooke, and you have some.
Three.
You got 3 plus you,
And if
there's
we,
4 in the office.
again have three.
Salvador, again, is like the intern.
Yeah,
He's not paying any money.
No, he is, but
Okay.
he's getting minimal money and
Okay.
he's working minimal hours. Okay.
So we have 4 people working in 1 office.
Mhm.
Okay? If you had a strong city secretary, do you need the other 2?
Oh, gosh, yes.
That's my question. I don't know.
Yeah, so your city secretary, if they're doing everything that they should be doing, then yeah, you need at least the other person. Do I need the other intern? That intern is cheap.
Chief,
Very. And, you know.
So
if
could you do it with a city secretary and an intern?
Does it mean we need them? Do we need them?
No. Yes, you need a person, and you need a city secretary.
So then now we need 2 people plus you. Can we get rid of 1 more and get a strong city secretary? That's my question. Do you need 4 people in your office? That's all I'm asking.
We don't have 4 people in my office. I have an intern. That is not the same. That intern,
Monica, Brooke, and the intern.
Have four.
and that intern
intern's not a.
is not an employee of the city, and that
He's making
intern,
some money
is costing the city $5,400.
regardless. So you had.
That's
4
not regardless. You can't equate an intern with a city secretary or with the city clerk.
Could it be done with the city secretary and an intern is my only question. Why are you freaking out over that question?
Well,
Because I'm telling you.
Hand the
it's-
job.
this city did that for 18 years. So
Right.
yes, it can be done.
That's my question.
No.
The city is not in the same position as it has been for 18 years.
So that's my question.
So I've already given you the answer.
So
This
you
year,
need 4 people.
in my budget, this year, I have 4 interns. You approved 4 interns this year.
Okay,
So we have funding for a city secretary, we have funding for a city clerk, and I have funding for interns. 4 interns.
okay.
So if you're saying, if we get rid of all the interns and we spend all that money on a city secretary, do we get a city secretary that can come in here and do these all other things? Maybe, I don't know. We have to test the market, find out who's available, who's interested, and whether or not they want to come here.
Is it your thinking that you want to promote Brooke to city secretary and then have the intern? Is your goal the 3 people?
If you ask me, would I rather have that intern and his skill set versus the city secretary that I had 6 months ago or 6 weeks ago? Absolutely.
Somebody was very ill, so let's not compare it to that. She's been here for 19 and a half years.
Those were bad choices.
Yeah, regardless, the skill set and the ability of that intern far surpasses the ability of the previous city secretary that we had.
Okay, so could you run an office with you, a city secretary, and an
So
intern?
why the question, Julie?
No.
I'm curious where you want to go with this because
She's saying merge the salaries of the city secretary and the city clerk into one.
Thank you.
no,
Say
I don't agree with that. What I'm seeing is Brooke is corrected. She's in a better position. She's doing what she's supposed to be doing. We don't punish her for that. In fact, we continue to promote her and educate her towards the city secretary, but we get somebody in here that can be a strong city secretary. Why does,
So
so what you're saying, throw Brooke out and get a city secretary.
I'm asking questions because I don't work here. I don't know what he needs.
Well, then,
Can
that's
I
what
learn?
I'm saying. Yeah, no, you can't.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying here is, no, you need both positions. You
So
need
you
the
want
city
to
clerk.
promote and send it?
No, I didn't say I want to promote. I want to get the option of a strong city secretary, whatever it costs us. If we can do it, we should, like you said, we're gonna work yet. Let's look into it. If that's, you do not punish her for all of these sins that came to light. You correct her and you help move her in a better position. If
What
that's,
is his position?
well, if I were in her position, if I was working for the city, I would expect the city to help me train to do other city jobs.
Okay.
What? Oh, Ben is helping her to move towards the position of a city secretary. That's called education and improvement. It's helping someone move forward. Does that mean, in his eyes, yes, maybe he wants to put her in that position because of the cost savings to the taxpayers?
So she doesn't get a raise when she gets in that position?
He just said earlier, there's not a significant cost improvement for the city or cost.
Until she
gets
changes the
certified. Right, so then she does the job in between, so that's a cost savings for the citizen. My concern is, because of exactly what you're concerned with, because of what we've been through, let's look at the option of getting a strong city secretary in here to cover everybody's concerns at the moment. So does Brooke no longer get to be educated? No, she continues with her educational process. She gets to the end of it, guess what? She goes and works for Haslett and makes $120,000 a year. That's absolutely wonderful. So Haslett then has a trained city secretary. We help educate and move forward a citizen of this city. And that's what we should do. But in the meantime, I want to discuss the possibility of a strong city secretary, what it's gonna cost us, just because we've been through all of this stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay, he said it, I'm saying it, I want that put on an agenda. 2 people want it on the agenda.
Three.
To discuss
Five, six.
looking outside for a new city secretary.
For a city secretary, yes. And when we get that discussion, and Ben, I would hope that you could provide
So what we need.
contacts or people who could.
I've already reached out to SDR. I'll ask them when I can get the quote and I'll bring it forward to the
Are they
council.
gonna be at TML?
They'll probably be there.
That's what I'm thinking. I'd love to sit and talk with Wendell. And again, Julie, you're asking these questions because you don't know anymore, and I don't either. And that's one of the things I'm gonna do at TML.
But see, TML, we're in a small city. We're trying to save the citizens money. We're trying to keep our taxes low.
So,
My question is, can the city be run? He's here. Can we get a city secretary and maybe an intern? Can we save the citizens a little bit of money? How many people do we need in that office?
so Brooks, Brooks' lack of qualification at the moment saves the citizens a lot of money. She's an interim. She gets her certification, it still saves the citizens money because she doesn't have any experience and we don't have to pay for that experience. What I'm asking to do is gonna cost some money.
Well, but if we need a city secretary, we need a strong city secretary.
Well, and that's my concern, exactly the point. I think we really owe it to ourselves and to those people out there to say, hey, we at least have to explore.
So there's one more thing we need to explore and why we need a strong city secretary. Things were happening, money was being spent like wildfire. Amazon purchases were being done.
No.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Using personal Amazon accounts, things getting sent to people's houses, trips and spouses' money and city money being spent on spouses' lunches.
We can't sit here and spout that because all of that was taken care of by the public. No, this is the public. Say that. The
Because
audit said no.
the problem that we're having is if we have a city secretary that's strong in this office that can
We don't have to
oversee
worry
things.
about that.
Yes,
Okay. all
so
right.
all these things
But
that
we
the
can't sit here and say all that stuff you just said.
all these things that the citizens, okay, let's put it this way, the stuff that the citizens are upset
What
about.
we've just been through,
Okay.
yeah.
All of the stuff that we've been through, everything that the citizens
Let's
have
get
lost
somebody-
faith in us,
Let's get somebody
Please.
looking at it.
can we not have somebody who is qualified?
Yes.
Because I think in the long run, it will actually save us money, instead, everybody keeps saying, it's gonna cost more money, but if we have somebody doing the job correctly, it's actually gonna benefit the city and maybe save us money.
That's, thank you. I'm right there with you.
Okay,
I agree with that. We are gonna spend a few pennies more. And I'm not gonna say it's a huge cost, but for that very reason, the appearance alone can buy all kinds of goodwill. And what it costs in pennies for these people gives them more reassurance about what we're building here.
absolutely.
So is that, and that's what you
Wouldn't
just
it,
said.
wouldn't it not make our, this office look a little bit more professional, be run?
I don't know if it's gonna make it look worse or better, but I think it's something we really have to look at for what you just said.
Let's do it.
Exactly what you just said. So one of the things I want to email is sit down with Wendell and SGR and educate myself on what is, because I don't even know. Is that a certification? Is it whatever? He just explained it to us, so. No, I'm sorry, Julia, I got a little upset because we can't publicly continue to throw that out there when it's all been proven to be false.
No, it all.
Oh, yes, it- so the door was gonna get paid for by the city regardless.
Shouldn't have been done the way it was.
So the city has, how long does our insurance policy allow us to file on something that occurred? 6 months?
I don't think there's a
time limit. So,
But go moving forward, let's move forward with this idea and make this.
I'm sorry.
Their money, let's spend their money wisely.
Believe it or not,
So-
love these sentence changes and
I
Julie.
wanna jump in here with Gladys because
You
this-
can-
But we love each other.
That's right, Brooklyn.
so since we're talking about dollars, it makes sense for us to go ahead and just jump to this audit portion of it real fast.
Absolutely.
So the deep dive audit was completed. They looked at 100% of all transactions from October 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2021. And they're gonna be back in the next, probably November, to finish out the final month, and then they'll do the end of year audit and get that report back to us. He'd be here tonight, except for he already had pre-existing plans to be out of the state. So on October 18th, he will be here with his final report, but he provided a summary that I uploaded into the packet. I also emailed it to all the council. So ultimately what he did is he looked for the proper approvals, support documents, check signatures. He said there were a few transactions that were not properly,
Yes.
not properly approved or supported by paid invoices, but these were all with recurring vendors such as residential deputies, inspectors, contract workers, etc. None of these expenditures were deemed to be of a fraudulent nature. All duplicate and outstanding entries have been resolved, all payroll records have been reviewed, and there are no extra paychecks.
This is kudos to the current staff.
Correct. There were several missed postings, checks posted to the incorrect expense account. These items will be corrected during the upcoming audits. There's always a few transactions like that that get data entry errors, stuff like that throughout the course of the year. The auditor believes, quote, all the missed postings are unintentional errors, which are mostly related to the unfamiliarity of the new accounting software and new chart of accounts. So we updated in the middle of the year when we brought to the council and let them know that we were going to be bringing on all of these additional departments. Instead of going from the 5 departments that were, the budget was, everything was in one of those 5 departments, we now have 13 departments that we're putting dollars into. So in the course of making these adjustments, some of those things did get put into the appropriate bucket. He said as the city moves forward, these types of errors should be reduced, and he will be present for the final report in the council on October 18th, 2021. So having said that, I want to kind of discuss some of the statements that were made just a second ago.
Okay, so let me ask this question because it goes directly with what he refers over and over in his report about checks. Okay. Did he look at city credit card expenditure?
We have no credit cards. We have a debit card, which goes to our bank account.
Okay, debit card.
He looked at 100% of the transactions. So he looked at all debit card transactions, he looked at all checks, all wire
He does not
transfers.
say that. He only refers to checks.
Well, he didn't say checks. He said he reviewed all disbursements. So any dollar that was dispersed from the city,
Okay,
he reviewed.
okay. All right.
So this thing that we're hearing about dollars being spent wildly and there being no controls or anything in place, the city council receives a updated financial report every single month, which shows you exactly where those dollars are, and it shows you if anything is out of budget.
When did that start?
That started when I got here, so 12 months ago.
12 months. Thank you.
So the city is
that not part of our consent items?
correct.
Every month, we have to consent to get that approved, which means hopefully we look through it.
So the thought process of the city being over budget, there's not been a single budget department that is over budget until now, because the city has spent probably $40,000 or $50,000 on legal fees, on restoring a computer, hard drive that was destroyed by an employee, by hiring outside consultants to come in and look at what was going on, the special audit. So
that goes exactly with what we discussed earlier. We should have spent $50,000 without city council approval.
this was driven by the city council.
It was, exactly.
This was 100% driven by the city council.
It's something we had to do. We can't just leave our tail heads hanging out. All of us needed to be.
And the reason why that,
So
that hasn't been done is because what he found on here, these errors here, errors there.
These errors are normal parts of any organization.
I'm saying that there were errors where it looked like.
Now,
It did look, it did.
it did not. It did not. Scott, you can't, that is absolutely inaccurate. When you look at, well, when he comes in on the 18th, you can ask him some questions about it.
Okay.
And you can ask him the time frame. What did the financial records look like 12 months ago, 24 months ago, 36 months ago versus what they look like today? Because he's done all.
But you said errors because they didn't understand the payroll. So is it that not an error? If they don't understand the payroll and they're writing checks and it's supposed to be coming out automatic, and it looks like some people were paid twice, that's an error.
Yes.
So you
That
just said
error,
no.
we knew that error was there. The error has been reported to the city council in the city council meeting. The
There's some of
council
this
was
stuff-
aware of this. This was something that I reported to the city council. Julie, you were sitting there in the seat. It's in the minutes, it's in the packet. But on the 18th, I would recommend that you come prepared with your questions so that you can zip all this up and stop making false claims about transactions and financial transactions which were not appropriate or over budget or anything else, because all of those things are absolutely false.
I understand what you're saying and how you feel.
There's no feeling about it. He's looked at 100% of the transactions.
Should
Every
personal
single
Amazon
one.
accounts been used?
Should personal Amazon accounts? Absolutely. No issue with it whatsoever, as long as those dollars are being spent appropriately, are accounted for appropriately, and the product or the service or the good is here at City Hall.
Ben,
Now, we're gonna do that again anymore?
I don't,
Well,
I don't have any cause to think you did something appropriate, but it looks inappropriate. I can order from Amazon, and have it sent anywhere I want.
Right.
Have it sent to my home, to City Hall, to no one's house.
Yeah.
So it looks funny that you sent it to your house.
Steve, I'll be the first to admit, Mary and I have already talked about this, and we've already talked, if you look at when that occurred almost a year ago. The last transaction that occurred,
We're not.
the last transaction like that occurred was the transaction of the computer going to Monica's home because she was trying to work over the holiday break. So sometimes it does make sense because she's trying to get work done. She needed something. It doesn't make sense for me to say, no, you can't do the job that you need to do when I'm waiting on minutes, I'm waiting on stuff to get done. So while I understand what you're talking about, as long as I can produce the asset that is being purchased, it doesn't make any difference. And that's the thing that's here. There's been claims made about improper spending and theft and of all the other types of things, all lies, 100%. So,
And about the account, that was explained more than once. The city had never come in their tax exemption to Amazon. We've been paying tax to Amazon all along.
So that's the error.
But,
So
John,
my point is that some of these errors are being corrected and that's a positive thing.
those errors were already corrected. That was something that I started when I got here.
but the explanation I was given is just what you said about the tax exemption.
Right.
I have a farm exemption, you got a farm exemption, tax-free. I can order something with my farm exemption and have it sent anywhere I want.
Yes.
So it just does not make sense.
Correct. And we've already said we're not gonna do it anymore. But like I said, the last transaction that occurred was in December.
That looks bad.
Yeah.
We're not doing it anymore.
So as the mayor said, thank you, Mayor, and as Mayor said 5 or 6 times, which I appreciate it.
Final item, is the waste service contract. So this was brought up several months ago. I've been going back and forth with them regarding what this would potentially look like. They've, essentially agreed to all of the terms we put into the agreement, which was increasing their insurance limits, providing a dumpster here for City Hall instead of the, roll-off or the little pickup things that we have in there.
Permanent dumpster?
Yeah, including, this last, about, I don't know, 8 months ago, the council approved, household hazardous waste pickups on the porch. And we went back and talked to them now about providing, curbside bulk trash pickup, since we're working on the contract and what that would potentially look like. This would not have any impact on the, commercial rates. So what we'd be looking at right now is for a person that lives in the city limits, a 95-gallon cart for weekly trash pickup is currently $23.60.
A week?
Monthly.
Oh.
That's weekly service. They pick up once a week.
Okay.
The second cart for a person who lives in the city limits is $4.90 a month. If they, if we add the 3-yard bulk pickup, which is basically like the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, essentially,
Yeah.
is what you're looking at. It's an additional $2.95 per month.
Is that an actual bid or not?
No. This is just, you put it on there
Stack
and you, let them know that you're gonna be putting out bulk and they will
Oh,
come
do
by.
you have to call them or they just, there's a schedule?
Well, so they put in the contract that they want us to call, and I have to come back and said I would rather just have a fixed schedule without notification. So that's still a decision point, and this is not,
They'll be coming out all kinds of days.
no, those will pick up once a month on Wednesday, like the second Wednesday of the month. But they want you to call 24 hours in advance and let them know. I'm trying.
That's only for the ball.
Correct. And I'm pushing back and trying to get them to agree just to pick it up if it's on the side of the curb. So we're still working out some of those details and what that would look like. I'm anticipating if I tell them to come out and be prepared to pick up trash on every single one, they're gonna come back and say, well, we can't do that for $2.95.
So I assume that 295, yeah, I hear what you're saying. So the 295 is paid by everybody,
Correct.
but it may be only a few that use it.
Yeah,
Potentially.
That's all the stuff in your,
Oh, I would use it a lot, but I don't know. Some people, they can't even fill up one can.
It can't be in a trash bag. They'll pick up cardboard box, they won't pick up a trash bag. They won't pick up. Believe me, I've been through that. They will not push it, because if it's in a trash bag,
So
That's also nice.
everybody's gonna be charged for bulk pickup?
yes, so this would be an amendment to the contract. So what would look like is you would get the 95-gallon carts, weekly pickup. Once a month, they come out and they pick up bulk trash up to 3 yards. And it would cost everybody in the city an additional $2.95 per month in order for them to add that service to it. So this is something that, we don't have to do, but we.
John says they don't pick up plastic bags.
they won't pick up a trash bag, because that's.
So, that's household waste. In that regard,
they pick up my boxes. when I
Yeah.
go.
they'll pick up boxes, they'll pick up,
Yeah, I
trimmings,
like
yard
that.
debris, stuff like that. But if you're putting out trash, that's considered household waste.
This was.
And that's why they want you to get an additional cart for that.
Put it in a box.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I'm not gonna tell you what to do in that regard, but yeah, you can work out a couple of ways of getting there.
My thought was this not.
This could very well help with our code enforcement.
Yeah.
It's trash, not being.
I know a couple of people have contacted me about bulk pickup, and I told them I would help them next time the dumpster showed up, so, $3 a month. I'm just curious, we're not to that point yet, but what do they do recycling?
No.
Recycling, there are more and more cities every single month that are canceling recycling.
They're just throwing it in the landfill.
80% of the stuff that's recycled right now ends up in a landfill.
No, I believe that.
It's
There's just not a market,
mandatory.
there's not a market for the
It's not.
recyclable stuff.
It's $36 before tax. It's like having 13th month.
And this is every month?
Yeah, so basically,
So do they have a separate truck for the bulk pickup?
yeah, they'll come out with a cloth and they'll do the
Grab it.
grapple.
Do you have to tie it and bundle it with a bow and do all that? Like Wolford did?
What work? I didn't have to do anything. I lived there about 6 months.
Well, when I was there in 2003 through 2005, they put out orders, you had to cut it up into 3-foot pieces and had it bundled up and tied for, so that somebody could grab it and put it in their truck.
Well, so in Fort Worth now, you can go up to an 8-foot length, so like fence panels, you have to cut them in half, but 4 feet wide. Ultimately, like I said, it needs to fit within the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. So as long as you can, basically make it fit in that type of a range, because that's what they're coming out to pick it up with. So,
Right, it's that big claw.
yeah. They just want to be able to handle it, without having to get somebody off of their truck. So, from the standpoint of what that would look like, bring it to the council, you can, think about this. This is not anything that we have to take action, we can't take action on tonight, but I would like to get some input and feedback from the council, whether or not they'd like to see this. But to John's point, I think this is something that we could utilize to help reduce the amount of trash and the dumping that we're seeing that is occurring now. We've got a lot of places that are saying, hey, we just have so much trash, we get rid of it, even though we do the community cleanup days, it's once a quarter now instead of twice a year, but still have to get the materials from where they're at to here or whatever it's gonna do.
Well, that was the problem with
Yeah.
the people.
So-
But they can find a way to get it to the well road. Every well road in the city of New Fairview has trash dumped in to get it.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily, they can't get it here.
Yes.
Well, they don't necessarily live in New Fairview that are dumping it at the well.
The 2 times that I had mine dumped in mine,
Uh-huh.
I went through it, called the police.
Found it.
I gave them the address. The time they ran through the fence and dumped the trash, I gave them the license plate. And, Wise County had no desire to come out and do anything about it. All right, one time it was Boyd, but every other address has been a New Fairview address.
Mayor, can I have your permission to circle back to something about the audit?
Sure.
Okay, do we know who Scott with CSA is?
Yes, we do.
Okay, can I read something from,
Sure.
and please correct me if any of this is wrong, it was just given to me. Scott with CSA and I were going over how to input TMRS payments and liabilities in the system, how they are deducted in the system. Because of the switch in software from QuickBooks to CSA, there was an overpayment made in payroll liabilities, which is in the process of being refunded back to the bank. So once we get that back, we will be clear $6,000 in balance on that. We went over how to look up items, check for double entries.
This has to be Monica.
I remembered, I'm not sure yet. I remembered that on March 25th, you told me to make sure I went over the entries and cleaned up payroll and checks. I specifically checked payment entries for Don Strange since you had brought it up last week to me and said that the council was talking about it and that I, Julie Berger, was questioning for Don. My understanding is that I don't think the council knows what's going on and I get the blame for all of it. But we will work on that as a team. The system tracks activity. Attached is where the correction needs to be made, and they were all Brooks entries. I will go in there and fix them, but I don't want it to seem like I'm making mistakes all the time or don't know what I'm doing. I could not move forward with the rest of the stuff that I needed to get taken care of because the bank reconciliations are not done in February, March. When I asked Brooke about that, for the last 12 months, she said that she has not done them yet because she didn't know how to put my charge for an Apple $2.99 in the system because you told her she had to do it a certain way. So I guess the question is for you or the auditor, the mayor, there were double payments made that were refunded back to the bank. So was a mistake made, but it was corrected.
They were never refunded to the bank. They maintain a credit balance with TMRS, so there was never a return. We absorbed the last portion of that TMRS payment in the last deposit that we did. The issue that we have is that the process runs like this. We receive an invoice. That invoice is entered into the system as a accounts payable. The person who's making the payments on that just has to go in and select the items that we want to pay, and you generate a check for it, or an ACH, whatever that looks like. The system automatically generates a TMRS transaction because it's a calculated bill. It says this is what your salary is, this is what your ratio is, relationship to pay, salary to pay versus what you have to pay to TMRS. That's all automated. So what occurred is she made a double payment, or she overpaid in that TMRS account. We never received money back, but we weren't making, and when I say we, the person who had access to those accounts was not making the filings on a regular time frame. So even though we have a credit balance sitting over here, they don't know how to apply the dollars of ours that are sitting over here as well. So we're still getting late fees because they have our money, but we're not sending them the reports that they need in order to be able to apply the dollars appropriately.
So it was a mistake made. I'm not saying it's by you, I'm just saying were mistakes made.
Yeah, there was an overpayment, and that overpayment has now been resolved through adjustments to the succeeding payments.
There were those TMRS.
Texas Municipal Retirement System.
Okay, that's their retirement, it comes out of the basic account.
Is that done quarterly?
No, those are done monthly.
This is something that the auditor looked into, because if somebody's accusing you of not being honest, and we can look at it here, Mayor, well, can you take it out of my hands, so I'm not stressing about this, and have the auditor look it over?
The auditor's already looked at it. Matter of fact, when we talked to the auditor, we asked him, how do you want us to do the, how do you want us to handle the journal entries? Those are some of the questions, that we're having to ask. So when I started here, the city had reimbursement agreements in place with, Constellation Lakes, with Falcon Ridge, with Paloma Ranch, a number of different developers. When I got here, I said, why do we have so much money outstanding? Why have we not collected it? And essentially we were sitting on $110,000 that's owed to the city, that we are just now getting to the end of figuring out where those dollars are supposed to be collected from, because we did not have adequate bookkeeping that was going on when we were receiving the bills from our vendors.
You mean they weren't paying us, or they paid us, we didn't know what?
No, we paid the bill, but then we did not actually send the bill on to get the reimbursement from the developers, even though we have an agreement in place. When we tried to go out and do the bills, we did not require our vendors to provide us detailed accounting so that we could adequately provide support to the developers to get the dollars back. It's taken us almost a year to work through and get all that information back. This kind of goes back to that same thing with the P3 works, where dollars are getting paid out of the general fund that should not be getting paid out of the general fund. They should be getting paid out of the PID. So those are all things that are falling into it. We've got that resolved now. We know what we're doing. We've got this things taken care of. But they worked with our finance person, our city secretary, for over 8 months to try and get that resolved. It didn't get resolved until they contacted me and said, hey, we're having an issue. And the only reason that we had that call was because I started putting pressure on them, saying, I've got $30,000 in unpaid invoices that I need to get reimbursed for. Where's our money and how do we get it? And they came back to me and they said, you should have never paid it in the first place.
So I guess what I'm getting, and I wasn't here, I don't work for you, or I don't work in your office, I just want the transparency. When you say nothing happened, no mistakes were made, nothing's wrong, everything's fine, I want it out in the open that whoever's fault it is, or mistakes were made, changes are now happening, things are going forward in a more positive light. So don't make it, I'm just saying.
Yeah, so what you're describing though, what the claims that you made.
Okay, so I'm
The
just trying to clarify.
claims that you made were that there were illegal financial
Don't
transactions.
say me, it was stuff that was brought in, and did I repost something?
It was passed to you,
I never accused anybody.
and then you made posts on social media, and
Did I repost things? I absolutely did, and I apologize for it. So I 100% know that, but I know mistakes also were made, things are
okay,
better
so
now.
what you're talking about though is mistakes versus intentional theft and fraud. And those are two different things. a mistake where you have a transaction that occurred that was coded into the wrong place, or you had a prepayment against something that you're gonna pay anyway over the course of the year, is not the same thing as making a claim that somebody stole money. Totally different deals.
And that's what you need to let the citizens all know and make it perfectly clear to everybody so they.
Which we have absolutely been doing from the get-go. If you look at the financial reports that were sent out, and if you recall the conversations we had these
And let
conversations
the
throughout
citizens
the
know
year.
how they can find their cents.
And this-
They're in the
this
packet.
This report here is available, and next week, the auditor.
That's in the packet
It's in the
that
packet.
we have right now, and there'll be the full report in our.
Every citizen can open that packet up.
They report-
Yeah.
Report on it and our-
And the budget's in the website.
That's correct.
So like I said, as long as the citizens can all see that and understand it and it's totally transparent, I think we're going forward.
I don't know that all the citizens can understand it, but if they have questions, we've always said, feel free to stop by City Hall and have a conversation. That's been the same message that's been shared with everybody from the get-go.
All right, is there anything else on the work session?
Yeah, back to our waste solutions, is that gonna come up on the next agenda for approval?
It depends on whether or not you guys would like to see this as an option. You know, if you guys are not interested in doing this, there's really no reason for us to amend the agreement because.
I'll speak, you know, personally, I would love it, but I don't think that I want everybody else paying $295 for something that I would.
So that, if you recall, that's one item where there was 80% support on
I
the
agree.
citizen satisfaction survey, was
But-
both picked up.
Yeah.
That was by far the one item that there was.
I'm gonna agree with the
significant
mayor
support.
on this and be like, let's not spend a lot of money.
I mean, if 80% of citizens want to spend $3 more waste, so I can have a mobile pickup, I mean, I'm good with that, but I don't know if that's really. I know what the servant said.
Yeah, well, honestly, like I said, I'm bringing it to the council because this is a request that I received from citizens. It's something that we've talked about on the council level, and it's something the citizen satisfaction survey said.
I've been a council member for every bit of what, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And I've had 2 citizens exactly state that. I have the bulk pickup that I can't get trailer or any way to pick it, they said they can pick it up, but any way to get it here.
Yeah.
You know, can you do something to help me? So my inclination is no, I'm gonna spend $3 more, but I don't know, we could, the city survey tells us something.
Mhm.
I don't know that we ought to buy it. Look like cedar for everything.
I'm just giving you the information.
Right.
The council can make the determination of whether or not they'd like to see it happen.
Bring it up later. We don't have to.
Is it something that has to be done to a contract that's coming up for renewal?
No, the city just renewed the contract. This would be amending a contract that we just signed a 5-year agreement on. So they came back and said, hey, would you be willing to update the contract? Right now, they purchased Midwest. I think that's the name of the.
Yeah, it was.
So they purchased Midwest. Our contract was with Midwest, and they just acquired the contract. So in all reality, they're just wanting to try and clean up the contract so it references back to Frontier Waste versus Midwest. We asked them for some increased insurance limits for them operating within the city limits. We asked them for previously for the additional community cleanup days. Now we've asked them for an additional dumpster here. So we've been asking them for some things if we're going to renew the contract. And then this came up as an item from the surveys and then also from a number of citizens that have recently had their service canceled where they were receiving bulk pickup. And now that they're finding out they have to come with Frontier Waste, they don't offer a bulk pickup service because we don't have anything contracted.
So if we were to go with this, is it 2 months down the road? When does the billing start? And how do the citizens get notified their bill has changed?
Yeah, so we
And
can,
here's your opportunity.
we can define when this starts. So we could say, hey, we're gonna execute the contract. This starts in January 1 or February 1st, whatever that looks like. That's all available, you know, for us to kind of determine.
Like the hazardous materials, I think that's what you referred to, right?
Yeah.
Hazardous materials.
Yeah, that's previous.
But, no, I think there was a cost for that too.
Yeah, it was like 30 cents.
Yeah, it's 37 cents or something. Those people pay.
There was some cost for it.
Yeah. So,
How many of our citizens know that? I mean, the Frontier Waste put out something saying that they'll. pick it
So
up.
we are,
I mean,
did we do that? End up doing that?
yeah,
We have hazardous waste pickup now?
yeah.
I remember when we made the proposal.
My follow-up question to that is,
Household.
you have to call
No batteries?
Yes, you call them and let them know that you've got, they take batteries.
Little batteries,
I think up to,
or big
I think
car.
it says up to 20 inches. I don't even know what that means.
Well, there's all kinds of little.
Yeah, so we didn't have to call these
them?
batteries.
It's a big battery.
But the one thing about this. Yeah, I don't know, that's why I said we never figured that out. But, the one thing that I have is I reached out to Frontier and I told them that we need to get a flyer created, which basically defines, this is the city limits, this is what the contracts are, these are the services offered, this is what needs to be done. They created a draft document and sent it over. I wasn't very impressed with it. I asked them to send me the soft copy, so they've sent that to me this last week. I'm gonna go through and get it updated to reflect all of the different programs. And then we will use that to post to our website. And we're working on putting together a new resident package that we will include that into, so that when people come into the city, that's part of the information that they're providing.
Yeah, I just, you know, they're building up a buck or whatever it is, we need to make sure they understand how to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
Good with it, but I didn't realize it's actually for the hazardous waste thing.
it actually, I believe it actually puts it on the bills with that.
Like, I looked at that again.
So, and I know we've had some people that, I've had some people call and talk to me about it and said that they've liked it better than what they were doing before. Before if you took it to Fort Worth to drop it off, they charge you $50. If you drop it off at one of their pickup centers, you know, more than likely what's ending up happening if we don't have that is it's getting dumped and buried in the backyard.
Yeah, so paint cans, aerosol cans, little batteries.
I mean,
Yeah, I bet that 20 inches is.
That's where the
all
bulk pickup
dimensions
size,
added.
you know, the bulk pickup is nice because take it up to Decatur, I mean, it costs you anywhere from $20 to $70 to, depending on what you have. They're crazy expensive. I took up a load of stuff on my trailer and it was $75 to dump a bunch of tree limbs.
So the one thing that you guys can also consider is this year, the city council had directed us to increase and improve code enforcement efforts. I think that this is going to be one of the biggest and best tools that we could use in getting code enforcement compliance to improve. Right now,
Somebody has a way to get rid of their.
correct, we're giving them a notification saying you got to clean up this trash, but then they've got to
And
figure
guess
out.
what? We have bulk pickup.
So I would take that into.
So that we still have one at the city 4 times a year?
We do.
City hall?
We do.
So I mean, that's lots of opportunity for people to get rid of their stuff.
It is, but he was saying that he knows people who don't have a trailer.
To get it there.
A way to get it up here.
Yeah, I think that I would, you know, I would love to even donate my trailer.
Well, that's what I told them. I said, you get one city.
I'd love to do that.
So Nolan, if you were gonna pull
If
all
I
the
get all
trash
that,
over here, you would need
Lot
many,
more
many,
house.
many, many semis and many loads.
It takes several sessions.
Yeah,
That's nice if you don't.
it is. And the other thing about it is as quickly as the trash is getting removed,
Especially the stuff along the side of the road.
it's getting accumulated and added back. So,
We're funny about how we get rid of something, but we get 2 things in return.
Leave the stuff in John's driveway. Yeah.
Well, let's, yeah.
So are we through with work session?
I
Yeah.
think so. All right, let's, we adjourn this at 9:43. All those, I guess we do a vote on that? Adjourn at 9:43?
Yeah.
You vote on it? All in
I
favor?
make a motion to adjourn work session.
All right,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Uh,
All right, let's take a 2-minute break and then we'll come back. All right, anybody else? Well, there's only 3 here, but I have 2 sheets to vote.
I would ask online, but the message is not working. People aren't allowed to
I went to one of your.
I know it was good here, not, a little bit of Fairview.
Thank goodness, right?
Yeah.
I got one, thank you. I got trash here though.
No. Like what we're, interact.
So what the, do both, 3 hours of crash. One's for
Tim building for a second. I still see.
We said you saw that.
Picture. Show me your picture.
They're all over. Really don't.
If you have no qualms, I'm gonna rearrange things a little bit and we'll do the open. And consent items, and then we'll go to executive session last. So
Yeah,
keep
the-
these hanging around. Yes.
I think that's always smart. My husband's texting, he's like, what's going on?
Yeah, we all.
You just said it right before you walked out. That was perfect timing.
Yeah, I wrote it here, but I also got a full list. of consent. So when we're done, we're gonna turn it over. It's a consent item.
Yeah.
Well, you got your work cut out for you. Sometimes I just feel like I don't bring donuts or something. I don't know. Sometimes I feel bad.
It's the content that I'm down here at City Hall every day. Not every day, but I'm here a lot. Where, yeah, I'm trying to pull all this stuff, so it'll all go together.
John, do you have any hayfields?
What was that?
You don't have livestock?
I did last time, I have just matched it. Yeah. Just matched it.
I guess everybody saw it. Like,
Weird. I didn't hear you.
my hay won first place at the last kind of hay.
I just thought. You should. I'm glad you saw this.
Coastal,
Huh?
coastal.
No, cool winter, that's what they call it, cool winter grass, which was oats, rye, and crickets.
I must have taken a look.
What kind of price do you get?
They gave me a tractor supply gift certificate, a ball cap,
Oh.
a soil sampler, and that's the best thing, it's chrome. The soil sampler is solid chrome. You stick it in the ground, twist it, and bring it up to get your soil sample. That's the neatest thing they gave me.
Congratulations.
Right now, it's probably hard to get.
Oh, yeah. All the big rain
Dry as it is.
we were supposed to get last week, I got a quarter inch.
Yeah,
Wow, that's horrible.
yeah. Well, soon Scott gets back.
Yeah, let's, knock on the door in there, tell them we're ready.
We have the form.
It's true.
Anybody have a problem, Steve?
I'll take another, get my, please.
What about you guys? Water, soda?
Uh,
Plain waitress, hurry up.
I'll take it.
Maybe. Richardson, been on the news, City of Richardson, cut down his, what he called it, his hayfield. It's just a total jerk. I've done business off and on 30 years for him. He takes money from developers, property owners pay him $30 to $40 an acre.
Sean, he's bigger.
I'm sorry, I should have brought it. I got
So
everything.
he may have,
No, no, should have gone.
this is what the city, he claimed it was hay, but it's just a few of Johnson place. He goes, well, that's hay. I said, no, it's sweet. Are you?
It's called straw.
He goes, do you have a
And
degree from, and I said, no, that's Johnson grass. It's in the weed category right here. And so they come and mow it, send him a bill. Well, but he gets paid by the property owner. He's supposed to be keeping it in. He does his lightly biscuit, so the crap will
Yeah.
go again,
Yeah.
and he cuts it, bales of hay, and never hauls the hay off, lets it get, lets the kids set it on fire.
Okay, let's start over. All right, we are opening regular session, is now 9:50, call to order. Nolan Studebaker,
John Taylor.
Steve Meisner.
Scott Johnson.
Julie Parker.
all present except for Cindy Bo. All right, we'll now stand. Pledge of allegiance.
I believe in allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. I believe in the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God.
Oh, we did it better this time.
Yeah.
All right, so, we are, go ahead and open the open forum right now for those that, would like to speak. And, I'll do these in order. I received them first is Stephen King. Limit yourself to 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. My name is Stephen King. I live at 293 County Road 7 in Fairview. Been there for about 29 years now. Would like to revisit the tax thing. I think it was August 2nd that the council talked about coming up with the minutes. Always get around the thing. The minutes right as required by Senate Bill 2 of 2019. In that city council meeting, I was shocked because we've been working on the budget for months at 30-cent rate, just like what you described. Then we come in here and now everyone gets all these big projects in their eyes that we can spend money for if we can get the tax dollars to do it. Then had some great slides that showed the different rates of what we can accomplish or what these projects would require in tax revenue to start. Maybe it was not a 60-cent proposal of the diminished rates. But that night, John made a motion for 50 cents and did not get a second.
For the business, right, yeah, go ahead.
No. Then
Yes.
Mickey,
For the
The minutes right.
yes,
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
then, which is the maximum rate that you could raise the taxes up to. Then Mickey Malone made a motion for the 66-cent rate, the minutes rate, which is the maximum it could be without being forced to go to a vote of the citizens on November 2nd. Right. Easily it got second for Cindy, and then Cindy, John, and Mickey voted in favor of it, Steve did not, but, Julie was not here. So easily the majority of the council wanted to spend money on the projects, even though we've been working on a very good budget that kept our tax rate low. So now, council now has the power to raise our tax rate to 66 cents. That's the max they can go. They can go anything less than that. But they had stars around us, what we could do. And we had, or the city, Ben had some, community, what you call it, community neighborhood meetings. How many of those have you done?
I've done, four since I've been here.
Okay, so
Or
from the
community
day,
meetings, neighborhood meetings, yeah.
between the dates of August 2nd and August 16th, we had two of them doing that. And one of those meetings was the tax. And I don't think anyone was debating on keeping it the same. They were all debating, why are you raising it up? Why do you want to spend more money? Why do you need more money?
Well, so the meetings that occurred were not about the tax rate per se as so much as specifically the individual that came in and wanted to schedule a meeting initially was upset with the quality of the water that they were receiving. And when they came in and talked to me about it, I told them that the city does not offer water services and that we are working to get water across the street and that we have negotiated an agreement which would allow us to right-size infrastructure improvements, which would allow for us to improve those services to the current residents.
Okay.
And I said, but that's not in the budget as we have it today.
True.
And she left a little bit conflicted, and she went back to her community, she started talking to neighbors, and they requested the meeting at that point. So that was the impetus of the meeting being requested.
Okay, my point is it occurred from the time of August 2nd when it voted on the this rate up until the time of August 16th. August 16th meeting, that was a public hearing
Correct.
for a tax rate. As required by the Senate Bill 2019.
Yeah.
Then we came in here and without a vote of council, you were going to table that vote on the budget and tax rate to a later date. And we don't know how it's wound up. But the point is that if we had not voted that night to keep the rate the same, now the council had the power and the authority to raise our taxes up to 66 cents. And there's not a thing we can do. Because you already fulfillment of Senate Bill 2019 by having a public hearing. You accomplished that public hearing on August 16th. Now, from then on until in September, y'all can do whatever you wanted and be legal. And we wouldn't have anything to say about it. Nothing. So, in all intent and purposes, it was a tax, proposed tax increase. Maybe it wasn't 66 cents, but it was for anything in a wide range there that we would, as citizens, have no control over. So yes, it was a tax proposal. And if you try to glaze it over and shine it up, you can say it wasn't a proposed tax increase for 66 cents. And you're right. It was for a range, it's been arranged in there, but it was for a tax increase.
Yes, sir.
It was for a possible tax increase, yes.
You're right. You could have guys had the power to lower to 25 cents.
It did.
Yep.
But we did not want you to have the power to raise it up. And that's why we wanted to express our opinion and thankfully, no, you allowed to be voted on, and I thank you for that, because you made the right decision. We're too small of a city to raise our taxes at this point. We need to get in more population housing, get our tax base up before we start spending a lot of money. I did not feel that way in the beginning. When I came in here and learned the millions of dollars it's gonna take to get us where I want us to be at, I thought we can't afford that. We cannot afford to go there yet. So let's just slow down. Ben, all right, he's done what a manager's supposed to be doing. He's saying, this is what we need here. We're saying, we're going back on things that let's get more larger tax base in here. I don't think we're ready for a tax increase next year. We should slow down, select spending, and let's just let everything actually evolve, where we have more money coming in, where now we can really think wisely about these giant capital improvement projects that we will need for sure. But, there was a tax proposal, which don't know what that rate would be. But, we did not want the council to have the power to enact that, and thank you for voting it down.
So I wasn't here, Steve, and in fact, I was on your side, but.
You were.
But a little later, understanding, we did slam the door, and we need possible
Well,
discussions of.
the council slammed it, or they don't correct it, and we're all good.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, thank you, you're right.
All right, Rudy.
Good evening, my name is Rudy Espinosa. I do contract work here at the city of Fairview, and I'm also Monica Rodriguez's fiance, who is the former city secretary. I'll be lying if I told you guys it isn't hard for me to come up here and I just have to speak to you guys and look at you in the face and tell you that I disagree with a lot of the things that you're saying about Monica. They're flat out lies from you. You fabricated a lot of stories. It's wrong. What you've done. Let's just say you haven't broken the law, but you've done a lot of unethical things that no other person would do. You're going to sit there and blast her and talk about her and not give her the opportunity when she's clear to come up here and defend herself. It's wrong. You know, it's not right. You want to sit there and say that she never brought it to your attention, which I know on multiple occasions she has. She has emails where she has said to it, and she's telling you that the position was broken. But like you do now, you defend her to the wall for whatever reason. I don't know. But it's wrong. It's wrong. I know, and a lot of the people in the community know Monica. They know the type of person she is. They know that she has given her blood, sweat, tears to the city for 18 years. And to have a person from a different city just come in here and blast her every chance he gets is ridiculous. I don't appreciate it. I know she doesn't appreciate it. I've seen firsthand what she's had to go through. I've seen the nights that she stayed up working on the minutes that you say she never completed. And on top of that, did you ever give her any type of how to do minutes, any type of procedure? No. You just said, oh, they didn't like the minutes. You didn't tell her wrong. You didn't tell her what they didn't like about the minutes. They didn't like the minutes. But that's when you roll. That's right.
So I'm not gonna get into a back and forth with you, Rudy. I know, I'm not, but, I would just say this. Personnel files and personal records of employees are open. Those can be requested by anybody in the community if they want to come in and take a look at it. And I can tell you that what you're saying right now is not accurate. And that if somebody wants to find out for themselves whether that is true or not.
And what they're saying is not accurate either. But you have this third party HR consultant come to our house and to flat out lie to us and say she doesn't know you, but she does. Okay, and have them spin these stories that you create.
Where did she know him from? Can I ask?
What?
Where does she know him from?
From his little freelancing company you have. I forget the name, but she even told me that she reached out to someone you know from that firm that you work with or whatever, but she was out of the country. Am I lying? Am I lying?
You are lying.
No, that's what she told me. I have to report it. If you like, send it to you.
I reached out to an HR person
Who you know
who I know, and I
that is
said,
out of the country.
I need a reference for which there.
She was out of the country, and I have, Catherine is your name, right? Catherine told me that she was out of the country, and she couldn't make it, so then she called her. She said she didn't know you, but I don't believe it one bit. And I find it hard to believe, Ben, how you're so quick to want to get rid of Monica, fire her, bash her, just discredit her whole time here, right? But yet you have recordings from the other interim city secretary cussing, talking about how she don't know how to do her job, and you defend her to the wall. Why? Why?
Again, this.
She's gonna come for you, right? Because when Monica would bring things to your attention, right, that you were doing wrong with the money, the finances, what would you do?
He's beyond the 3 minutes.
What would you do? Huh? You would get mad. You kept her from talking to Joe Max Wilson.
Hey, Rick, one of the rules of the decorum is when you're speaking to the council, you're speaking to the council, not to one person.
Then, when he started working here, Monica had close relationship with Joe Maxwell, former mayor. Okay? She would talk to him about certain things that were going on here at City Hall that she thought weren't right, such as way finances are being spent. Ben gets wind that she spoke with Joe Max, and what does he do? He keeps her and threatens her, literally, gets her in the office and tells her, hey, you talk to him, it's your job. I mean, if you have nothing to hide about transparency and now you're transparent all the time, what was the problem, Ben? Council?
So
you
Monica
hire-
come talk to us.
I'm sorry?
Monica had opportunity to come talk to us.
She couldn't. Did you not hear what I said? If she spoke on anyone in the council, okay, before he got here, Monica was always out there.
You're past the 3 minutes, and really,
Okay, let me just say this.
respectful,
Yes, sir.
because I understand, your feelings and your hurt, and Monica's hurt, I understand that. But her attorney had the opportunity to come forward as well, and he did that. And I think, that legal action is between our city attorney and her,
Right.
her legal,
Totally council.
and legal counsel, and they need to, that needs to
Yes,
happen.
I get that.
To come here, I understand your feelings, but we need, and I see you're staying under control pretty good, which is, appreciate that. But we do need to, stop the accusations and because there is I assume an ongoing investigation,
Yes.
with Monica's attorney, so I think the less you say, the
Right.
better.
Well, I apologize for interrupting during meetings, but when I would raise my hand, I wouldn't get the opportunity to speak, so I had to come up here, and I appreciate you guys letting me speak.
Good.
And, like I said, I sent a text message, I come in peace, I'm not gonna come here to start any trouble, but I do wanna let you guys know that when Monica is clear to speak, that she will speak, and she will defend herself and let the citizens who appreciate her hard work after these last 18 years know, the truth, and she has, a lot of stuff that she wants to get off her chest as well. This is taking a huge emotional toll on her, and I don't know what kind of man doesn't love his significant other would stand by her side and not do it to the day I die. So I appreciate it, and, thank you.
Thank you. Hey, what kind of contract do you do?
Onward.
Homework.
Yes, sir.
Business?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He's gonna call you.
All right. So, under the consent item, we have, to accept the minutes for September 13th and 27th. They were in the packet. We have a discussion if desired, if there is any, we can table it, but,
Let's see,
for a
September,
motion- for a motion
oh,
to-
September
for
13th.
13th and 27th, for a motion to approve.
Look good to me. I make a motion, we approve the consent, all consent items, say.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
All right. We're going now.
Oh,
I just wanted to let everybody else go.
oh, yeah.
Since we don't have any.
We can close the doors here and just turn off the, recording.
All right.
Yeah, we can see it in here.
Not that many comments.
Man. Well, I hope it's a,
Is it off?
Think so.
One second.
Wait a minute.